Oh, you touch my tra-la-la.
You know, in these intimate little chats me and you have, we've discussed regressive ideology at length, but we've never branched out, have we? The truth is, social justice movements in the first world don't hold the patent on regressive ideology. They aren't the biggest, and they sure as fuck aren't the oldest. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about religion today. We're gonna talk about Catholicism.
Weird men in dresses and silly hats that fuck kids!
We're also going to talk about radical Islam.
Weird men in dresses and silly hats that fuck kids!
And then we're gonna talk about Jews.
I don't even know if they currently fuck kids, but I'm pretty sure the scripture says it's okay to fuck kids!
As you can see, I'm super excited to start this, so let's begin. Now, a hallmark of regressive ideology is making up fantastic bullshit that doesn't correlate with reality. We see this in the West with claims of rape culture, but in the old Bible, this is shown with the story of Noah's Ark. And oh my god, is it ever a crock of fantastic, otherworldly, 1,000-year-old bullshit. Obviously, to some, it's allegory, and that's all fine and dandy to me, but there are some people who believe it, word for word.
Talking about you, Ken Ham! He's actually building a gigantic fucking ark! Almost $30 million in donations! Your infrastructure is garbage and you're spending money on a gigantic boat from a fantasy book! Holy fuck, what a waste of money!
Now, if you don't know the story, I'll recap real quick for you. God sees Earth. Everybody fucking camels and shit. God's pissed the fuck off. God tells some guy,
"Build a boat and fill it with all the animals, and flatten the earth, bitch."
Guy builds boat, God floods Earth.
Holy fucking shit, there's water everywhere!
Floodwaters recede, Earth is repopulated, everybody lives happily ever after. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's look at how retarded this story is. Now, Noah's Ark was around 450 feet by length and 45 feet by height, with a width of around 75 to 80 feet, I believe. And it apparently housed over 50,000 animals, 7 people, and 2 million insects. That seems pretty reasonable, right?
Trick question! It's fucking impossible!
To put this in perspective, the Titanic was twice as big and held a maximum capacity of 3,500 something people. Even if you account for the lower maintenance levels that didn't house passengers, and you made the rooms as small as they can get, even if you gutted the whole fucking thing and retrofitted that bitch purely for housing and storerooms for the most lightweight, inexpensive, and condensed food to last an entire year, you still wouldn't be able to fit over 20,000 people on that thing. And this doesn't even account for the fact that most of these animals are way the fuck bigger than a human is.
Have you seen what a bear looks like? It's a walking holocaust with fur! It can shit a garbage can!
Now, let's say, again, for sake of argument, that this gigantic wooden boat didn't fucking get boarded with water and snap the fucking half like the Wyoming, a ship comparable in size. Let's say the seas were calm, which they are not wont to be. Let us just ignore all of that shit just for sake of argument, alright? Let's look at how high the sea rose. Genesis 7:19 says, "The seas rose above the highest mountains." Alright, well, the highest mountain is Mount Everest. You know, some will say that the flood created Mount Everest. It's 60 million years old, so unless this shit happened 60 million years ago, humans have only been around for 2.5 million years. No humans, no Noah, no boat. I don't want to hear your stupid shit. Do you know what's really fascinating about being up that high, though?
It's fucking cold, and there's almost no goddamn oxygen!
If the animals in the ark didn't die of freezing to death, they sure as fuck would have died from suffocation. Again, though, for sake of argument, let's just say that magically didn't happen. Alright, I'll grant you that. Do you know what's also fascinating about water being that high from the ground?
Trees need sun to survive, you assholes!
Pine trees and shit can't survive under the ocean. The vegetation at that depth wouldn't receive the necessary sun to grow, and it would die, leaving any herbivore that magically survived on the ark without a food source, and by extension, the very quick and inevitable extinction of every single goddamn herbivore. This, of course, doesn't count for the fact that every carnivore would rush this process, end up without a food source, and inevitably end up cannibalizing themselves into near extinction as well. You'd end up with a worldwide extinction event. No fucking animals. You'd never see a goddamn animal again. Let's also talk about how the floodwater isn't salt water, but fresh water. What would happen to sea life if both types of water mixed rapidly in such a short amount of time?
Too long! Didn't read, everything fucking dies!
Do I need to explain that? I don't really think I need to. That's common sense. Saltwater fish die in freshwater. Freshwater fish die in saltwater. The fucking plant life is gone too, by the way. Now, as a harmless story, I'm totally fine with this. It's fiction. It doesn't have to make sense. But my problem with this is that it's treated as a serious historical account by some people, and it's taught to their children.
What a fantastic proposal! Let's teach our children fantasy bullshit as truth! Nothing could go wrong!
Stop teaching your kids this bullshit. I mean, it's borderline psychological abuse, and you're creating a huge problem when they go into school later on in life, and they're taught factual accounts of history. Stop it. You know, as far as I'm concerned, you can believe that a magical naked man with a dick grafted to his forehead will come to do a rain dance on your front yard at 3 a.m. for all I care. Okay? I don't give a fuck what you believe. But leave your kids the fuck out of it. And you know what? For good measure, leave the fucking gay people alone, too. Stop fucking bothering the gay people, alright? Sucking dick ain't a crime. It's not a crime to get 4 or 5 dicks in the ass on a Friday night after a bender. You might call that disgusting, but if I see that in the middle of a party, I call that a good fucking time.